Good morning, everyone, and welcome. This is Joe Scarice, co-founder and co-host of the Creative Bird Strategy House and podcast here every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this great educational, I would call it a portal of education, strategy, and networking. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. We try to provide, we provide a different educational subject every single event. So we keep it very special, very unique. You're always going to walk away with hopefully some form of education, a golden nugget of opportunity. And I think today's discussion really ties into how you have to really think like a real estate investor and boosting your return on investment with the right repairs on your investment properties. And we'll talk about this, some strategies and some direction and maybe some suggestions. First, we're going to invite some people in and get started here in a few minutes. I want to first always thank our sponsors, as always, because without them, we wouldn't be here. I would like to thank Mr. Uredell Perkins of Perkatech, who provides social media architect strategy and optimization to your website design, graphic design. Set up a discussion with him how to build out your real estate platform, whether you're thinking about putting an event together, a website, web page, squeeze pages, Google Analytics. There's just so much that he can provide to you as a true understanding of a social media guy that understands the real estate investor. We have been working together for over a decade, and we run events together, coordinate masterminds and meetups and things of that nature. So please feel free to reach out to him as well. I'd like to thank Miss Linda Pelagas of Realty 411, who provides a national publication for real estate professionals and services, and then also provides national events throughout the country. And she just had a wonderful event in Los Angeles this past Saturday. It looked like it was fully packed, as always. I was there for a couple of years in a row. I could not make it this year. So, but she just had a great event in LA at the LA Grand Expo. Had probably 500 plus people in attendance. I want to thank MB Capital, where I'm a referral partner, providing unsecured business lines of credit for real estate professionals throughout the country. So if there's any questions on that, by all means, let me know, and I could always have a strategy discussion with you as well. And then finally, I'd like to thank Lenmark, where I'm a senior loan analyst, providing asset-based lending in the DSCR space, fixed to rent, fixed to flip, new construction, blanket loans, mixed use, construction lines of credit, just advisory and strategy and building out your real estate portfolio. We provide worksheets for you to be a better real estate investor, a better real estate professional. We offer CE courses on asset-based lending nationally. Have a great announcement about that as well in just a second. And, they are really supporting what I'm doing here in this podcast as well. So, if there's any questions, by all means, please let me know. We just confirmed I'll be speaking on asset-based lending fundamentals for 3 credit CE next year in Austin, Texas, Miami, Florida, and Atlantic City, New Jersey for the National Private Lender Association. So I'm pretty excited about that. Real quick, I'd like to just catch up on a couple of the events that we got coming up over the next couple weeks, probably the next 30 days. Tomorrow night, I'm hosting a Halloween party in Newark, New Jersey. If you can make it down, that'd be great. Love to see you there. Starts around 6:30 on Broad Street. If you need any details, I will be posting up that information today as well. In the month of November, I will be November 1, 2, and 3. I'll be leaving there Thursday, but I'll come in Thursday on the 31st. I will be at the Ohio RIA in Cincinnati, Ohio. I look forward to seeing a lot of the real estate RIA leaders there. We will be broadcasting our podcast from there as well. Look forward to that. That's this weekend coming up. We also will be at the National Association of Realtors in Boston, Massachusetts on the 8th, 9th, and 10th. I will be broadcasting my podcast from there live. Then the 11th, we have our mastermind in Philadelphia. Trying to see what else I got going on here. that month. I'm sure there's a bunch of other things going on, but very packed with some events that I'll be present at. I think they expect somewhere around 15,000 people, realtors, at the convention in Boston. So I look forward to that opportunity and meeting and greeting a lot of different people. So if anybody needs any of that information, by all means, reach out to me. Let me get that information in front of you. So hopefully we get to meet and greet. If we haven't met already, love to meet you as well. So our discussion today, boosting your real return on investment with the right repairs, and the strategies behind it, and maintaining your investment properties. I just put a poll out, and I also posted an article through LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. So if you go on to LinkedIn and give your opinions of the poll and give your survey, I would greatly appreciate that. And as an experienced entrepreneur and real estate investors, we firsthand we understand the complexities and the opportunities that come with managing a rental property. The goals are very clear: maximizing your return on investment, ROI. I mean, we're going to share today, hopefully, some strategic direction on how to enhance your property's values and streamline its management to boosting profitability effectively. Because I think any good investor, they're only as good as their property management company, right? And you really need to also understand your market trends. Navigating the real estate market requires a deep understanding of current trends and economic conditions in your market, whether it's shifts in buyer demographics or change in housing regulations or fluctuations in interest rates. Staying informed is crucial. And by keeping a pulse on the trends, you can keep informed decisions that align with market demands and ensuring your property remains competitive and lucrative. And this ties into some of the market trend articles that I've seen over the last, say, week. Renters are revealing amenity preferences and keywords used to find rentals. And homeowners are still remaining equity rich and not tying a lot of that money up. And then also, home prices are dipping in very specific city markets. Okay. Some key cities that you want to keep an eye out for in the Midwest is Cincinnati, Kansas City, and Denver. I think they're seeing about 8 to 10% drops in their values right now. Where there's opportunities for investors right now is like, I think you're going to see some drops in areas like Cincinnati, Kansas City, Missouri, Austin, Texas, Jacksonville, Florida. Those dips are going to help us as real estate investors. Nashville, Tennessee is seeing a dip. Orlando, Florida is seeing a dip. So again, you're seeing anywhere between 5 and 10%. And the shifting landscape of the market, as investors, you need to do your research and understanding your target market and making properties attractive to tenants, because they're going to look at the differences of what do I go into a multifamily complex, where I get complimentary coffee and bagels and have a gym, or do I live in a single family home or two family or three family or four family home and maximize my time in more of a community. So there's a lot of things you need to think about when doing this. Okay, you need to be strategic in enhancing the property value, having a deeper, effective property management techniques, working with property management, understanding the financial strategies for the renter. You like, what is your price points for the rental in that market? Are you on point? Are you under market? Are you over market? Are you just right? So you have to take a call to action to yourself as a real estate investor. What are the right repairs, interior, exterior, to attract the right tenant that's going to stay a certain amount of time that you're looking for to maximize your return on investment and your cash flow and appreciation to that property? Good morning, Shawnee. The rose amongst the thorns. Been a long time. Great catching up with you a couple weeks ago. Brief overview: who you are, what you do, and thoughts to boosting your return on investment with the right repairs.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, it's been a long time. I actually stumbled to this room, but there are no accents. I'm like, oh, I'll get to make this room a little bit, a few minutes before I actually leave for church. But so my name is Shawnee. I'm actually located in southeastern Pennsylvania in Bucks County. I'm a licensed real estate agent and investor. I've been in the business for 15 years, and I work a lot with buy and hold clients. So rentals are always something that's on my plate. Rental regulations, keeping up with them. A lot of things are going on at all times. You always have to keep up with things. I know New Jersey, it's a big, the last year has been lead paint. It's been one of the things that required inspections. The update to that policy has been one of the things that have been on people's plates. But as far as the subject, right, I think it's something I always talk with new investors. People, I've had clients that have been investors for years and people who are new to it. And I always let people know, when you're doing a rental property, you don't always need to get the top line. It's your property, you invest in it. And what you do to that property as far as what things that you replace and on the schedule makes a huge difference. I'm always reminding clients, make sure that everything's on schedule. If you have a home that has gutters that you're responsible for, make sure that you have a schedule where you're getting them clean. It's not by itself, it's your property. Same thing with HVAC maintenance. It's so important. Those small little things, doesn't matter if it's a new system or not, if you don't maintain it, and you can't necessarily in the lease, you can't depend on tenants to do everything. You just need to double check certain things. So those are two big ones that I can think of that sometimes I see neglected, and you have to have, just like you have to schedule for your own home, you have to make sure that's really in check, especially with a rental property, regardless of who's responsible, because it's something that's going to fall back on you ultimately as the owner. It's your investment. Thank you.
Johnny, thank you. And a couple questions before you head out, and pray for all of us, because we'll need those. You know what I mean? So, does curb appeal always win the deal, or is it more the bathroom, the kitchens? Is it the countertops? Is it the flooring? In your market, and I don't think your market is any different than any other market in the country, as a licensed realtor, you know, are investors really considering what to match up what they have in the market, or are they behind? Are they ahead? Are they having good communications with their realtor or their maintenance group or their management company? Where are you seeing things?
As far as you said, curb appeal?
Yeah, what is the appeal to a tenant? Like, you do a lot of leasing as well, so
right, absolutely.
What is the pop factor for somebody walking in the door and saying, "Okay, I want to rent this"? Like, what is the common denominator to a lot of these tenants that they're looking for when you're having a discussion with them? So you're not taking that away.
I tell people it makes a difference, especially like in my market, which can be Class A a lot of times. Not I don't only do Class A, but yeah, they want the finishes. Class B, they want the finishes too. There's a choice. If there's 5 rentals in the market and one person is stainless steel, the other person is white appliances, one person is black, one person is granite, one person is laminate, they're going to go. Of course, price is factor too. But if it's not a huge difference, I always tell people I'm in competition. That's when you really need to make sure that you stand out, even if the pricing can't be that much increased. Do you want to rent it? Yeah, people are going to look at that when they have a choice. And absolutely, 100% they do. So the finishes do make a huge difference. Things like having the camera doorbell. I have some people that have that. They offer the tenant the access to it if they want to have that. The finishes do make a difference. Yes, if you're in a neighborhood where you have a choice and there's one that has granite, one just does not, and the price difference is either I always tell people, well, how much more are we going to make? Well, like I said, if there's a choice for tenants, you want to make sure yours gets rented. So those things do make a difference. Every situation, every neighborhood is different, but it does. And a lot of times people wonder why their property sits among competition. Well, that's why. Sometimes the way it looks. So it is important to renters. You'd be surprised. They're not buying it, but yes, it's very important for renters in a lot of different neighborhoods, for sure.
Thanks, Shani. Always appreciate your time in here. And I've known Shani for many years when I was very involved with a lot of the associations at one time with the realtor associations. I've gone kind of a little higher level. I go right to NAR instead of going to the smaller associations. But I want to go big or go home is my mindset. So, Shani, are you going up to Boston this fall to the NAR event?
Boston, no. Haven't. I want to hear all about it though. I'm sure it'll be a great turnout. I'm just not personally going to be making it this fall. No.
I can't believe there's going to be almost 15,000 realtors there. That is that's crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's going. I'm really excited about the opportunity. And then Lendmark is going to be pretty much the only asset-based lender at the convention. So we either are going to do really well, or people are not going to know what the heck we're talking about. So it's going to be somewhere in between. And from what Shani is saying, you need to invest in maintenance and upgrades. And I think the smart technology is going to win the game a little bit. Video, security, keypad entry. Some of those bells and whistles are going to separate you from the apartment complex that offers, all this high intensity technology. You need to stay on top of it. If you have an A plus or A rental, you need to keep it an A rental. If it's a B rental, you got to keep it a B rental. If it's a C rental, you have to maintain it to stay C. And you got to watch what's going on in your neighborhoods. I mean, there's so many times I've done uh, loans for individuals that, like, oh yeah, it's an up and coming neighborhood. Oh, okay, there's 6 board ups on your block. Yeah, I mean, don't don't skirt what's going on. It's a C neighborhood or even a D neighborhood if you have 6 board ups on your block. So you have to know what type of maintenance and what type of tenant is going to be attracted to that market. If it's Section 8, you need to put extra type of, I would say, securities to the wherewithal within the 4 walls of the property, meaning stronger walls, like protective measures, um, all hardwood floors or hardwood laminate floors, granite countertops, and backsplash everything to death because they're going to make a mess. It's just going to be messy. There's going to be kids. There's going to be pets. It's going to be Section 8. They're going to be a little more wear and tear on the property. Somebody in more Class A, B neighborhoods, these are type of people that plan on buying a property in the next 2, 3, 4 years. They don't want to ruin their security deposit. They don't want to ruin their relationship with the landlord because they need them as a reference. But also, they might be the first person to buy your property if you decide to unload it. So leveraging technology higher, I think, in any level, C, B, or A, keeps your tenant aware that you are trying to take protective measures, not just for them, but for the property, and advertising the property to the right people and understanding the laws and the regulations are going to tie back to what type of repairs and renovations you need to keep doing to make sure that property stays correct, and setting competitive rates and outsourcing maintenance and management might be the way, but you still got to be hands on to your management and your maintenance calls need to be addressed. Okay, and if they're not being addressed, you need to address those. You have to have your own backup to what's going on. And analyzing your cash flow regularly. I'm so amazed when I ask somebody, what are the taxes on your property? How do you not know your taxes on your property? How do you not know the insurance for the year on your property? How do you not know these things? How do you not know your operating expenses on a monthly basis? Whether it's common area maintenance, like what utilities are you responsible for outside the tenant? What other costs are you responsible for? How do you not know that? And tying that in and monitoring it to the local market conditions and making informed decisions with a power team, your management and your maintenance service, and identifying the right quality tenants, not just sticking a warm body in there, and handling rent collection, proactively managing maintenance and repairs. These are things you have to consider. You're not buying a pet. You're not buying a bicycle. You're buying a home. You're buying an investment property that's going to provide a return on investment to you over the next 30 years, hopefully. Deborah, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion. Boost your return on investment with the right repairs.
Good morning, Joe. Deborah Adamy, realtor in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's good to hear Shawnee this morning and love to hear you, Joe. Everything you both said about rentals is so true. When I take a rental person out to look at a house, they look at all those things. It's kind of like just like they're buying it. So everything that you're saying is so true. They like the hardwood floors and they like everything modern, just like upgraded. So, but then it's true, Joe. You have a place like Forest Street, where or you have a place in Summerlin. It all depends on where the location is, but most renters want all that stuff. And I was just looking over the stats on people moving here from California. They're one of the number one driver's license surrenders to Clark County, and it was 21,422. And I think that's probably. And then the next one was Florida, Texas, Washington, Arizona, Utah, Hawaii, Illinois, Colorado, and New York. Those are the people moving here from different states. So anyway, Joe, I agree with all you're saying, and love your room.
Thanks, Deborah. And Deborah, like, we know Vegas has the most convenient airport in the world, outbound and inbound. I don't know if people realize that. And seeing the migration coming to Vegas, what are people thinking? Are they thinking they're going to rent for the next 3 to 5 years? Are they looking to temporarily rent and buy something right away? What is a tenant talking to you about when hey Deborah, I want to look at a rental? What's the conversation? Take me through the conversation a little bit. What are some of the top bells and whistles that they're mentioning to you? Is the price point? Is it the neighborhood? Is it the schools? Like, what is the appeal to the renter right now in that Vegas market? Because it's kind of a Boston Tea Party of demographics. It's not one demographic.
Right. So when they first contact me, I ask them the location and the cost. What can they afford to pay for rent per month? So those are the first two things. And so the location is the most important thing, and some of them have schools. They have kids that go to school, so the schools are very important. So it just depends, I think, Joe, on the person. If I'm running into a couple with no kids and they want in Henderson, it's usually no problem. So I don't usually. There's no Section 8 here. There's none. There's every time I check, there's zero Section 8 available for anybody. But yeah, it just depends, Joe. Some are schools, some are locations, some are how much the rent is. But most of the time, I can put somebody in a rental really fast. But they go fast here, so I always tell them, look, if we find a place, you've got to apply that day. Like I've showed so many people rentals, and I don't know how many times it's happened. Oh, I didn't apply today. 2 days go by. Oh yeah, I didn't apply. Well, it's gone. So I don't waste my time. I said, look, here's the deal. If I show you a place, you like it, you have to apply right then, after we leave. Because if not, I'm wasting my time. So I make it clear to them. So I hope that answers your question, Joe.
So are you renting more to the tenant to an institutional type of investment property, or are you dealing with the local landlord? Like, who are you dealing, or is it a blend of both? And what are the conversations you're having with the landlord when a tenant comes through and they're critiquing the rental and they don't find they don't rent it? So is there a discussion that you have with the landlord that what's the typical misses in the home that a landlord should be aware of that renters are looking at or looking for?
I get mine off the MLS. I do have a friend that I listed his rental property. I would say the most important thing is make sure the doors work. Make sure the key works. The first thing you're gonna touch is the front door. So if that's not working, the key doesn't work. That gets the realtor frustrated, and she can't get in, or I can't get in. And then, just open the door as if you're a tenant or you're a buyer, and just, see those things. See the molding on the floor is dirty, or there's chips, and just little things like that. People notice those things. Carpets worn. If you're not going to replace it, at least clean it. And if it can't be cleaned, just replace it. Just put tile in. So much better. What else? The lighting. Make sure all the light bulbs work. Simple things like that.
So you're telling me it's more of a punch list that the landlord's missing right nowadays that you're seeing in the smaller investor? Like why not have keypad entry instead of a keys? Why not have newer doors and windows? Why not have it cleaned and smelling fresh when you're walking in the door for a tenant to look at? Is that something?
Exactly, Joe. Exactly. I mean, that's what we do when we have open houses. We make sure it's spotless, really clean. We make sure it smells good. We've got music playing. Yeah, you gotta. I mean, we're in a market where it's in demand, so people take what they can get. But if you really want to appeal, yes, Joe, things.
I still don't comprehend landlords that want to put carpet in when hardwood laminates last longer for your ongoing turnover of tenants. I mean, put some throw rugs down. You know what I mean? I don't understand why you keep putting carpet down when it just has to keep getting replaced. Put a hardwood laminate looking flooring, a good eggshell color. And to me, what has always been appealing is there's this lawan, which is like more of a laminate, like the top part of a laminate countertop, but it's more sheets of it. You put that around all the walls, especially in a Class C market, you're going to have less damage to your walls and less work you have to do on the turnover if you just put this 6 foot sheet up from the floor to 6 foot high. The damage that it will protect in long term, the linoleum. Well, not linoleum. It's not a linoleum. It's a laminate walling that I put along a lot of my walls, and all you got to do is replace those because they get scratched and bumped and whatever. You just take one of those sheets off and you put a new sheet up. You're not replacing the whole wall where there's a big hole in the wall. So there's some protective measures and then also like somebody mentioned in the chat, like fixtures, like let all the fixtures match up. Send a maintenance button up person in there to make sure things are matching. Do an audit on every one of your units. Make a difference because at the end of the day, if your cash flow is better based on some of these bells and whistles on every single unit, and you're staying on top of your management company to do these certain things, and then check on them and make sure they're doing these things. Cash flow is king. Okay, if you're making $500 a door and you have 10 properties, you're retired. You're just maintaining properties. If that's what you want to make, if you want to have 20 doors and make 500 doors, who wants to make $500 a door? Everybody. Everybody wants to make $500 a door. How do you get that net profit of $500 a door? Is maintaining and maintaining that property. Flooring, paint, molding, fixtures, windows, doors, roof, plumbing, HVAC. It is a process on an everyday basis. It's like maintaining a massive car over and over again on a month-to-month basis. You just can't hopefully think it's going to take care of itself. Your tenant is not going to take care of it for you. Nor do you.
That is so true, Joe.
Right? Like I don't understand why people think.
I've in places, and I called the realtor back up. I said, "How could you list this place like in this condition? It's ridiculous, totally ridiculous."
So what are they saying to you when you ask them, Deborah?
He didn't answer me.
Yeah.
But I let him. Oh my God! I said I was so embarrassed to show this place. It was horrible, Joe. And I've been in places like that. It's like, if you're a listing agent, how could you allow people to show the place? And I think this was for purchase, or it was for purchase. But even so, I've been in rentals that are the same way. And I blame the listing agent and the landlord and the owner. It's terrible. And we walk in places, we know when the landlord is skimping on money, trying to save money and not doing the repairs, Joe. Yep.
Well,
you can always tell.
Well, this is also your property management company real quick when you test them out, Deborah. I have a client that just gave four properties to a property management company, and it's about 3 or 4 weeks. Nothing has happened. Nothing. Like, where's my inspection from the property management company telling me that everything's good to go to rent the property? Where's the property listed? Like, nothing. So if the property management company is not working with you in outs and getting tasks done, like I have to defend somebody like Joe Martella, who's typically on here as a moderator. He self manages. He's the only person he can blame. Like, why aren't you doing a walkthrough of your property at least once a quarter, finding out what's going on in that property, or and allowing it, that should be part of your lease, in doing a personal inspection on your units up and above the property management company. You're going to trust a third party for your investment and your return on investment the whole way through? I think that's insane.
Yeah, and to even list a property and not go see it, like walk through it yourself. If you're putting it up for rent or for walk through it.
Well, I mean, listen. You put that in the lease that you were allowed to do a walkthrough every 3 months. The tenant has to allow you with 48-hour notice with the management company. And then now you're seeing exactly what the management company is looking at with you. And why isn't this being attended? Why is that cabinet door off the hinges? Why are we not on keypad entry on every window and every door and every Bilco door into this property? You start listing the whys. Why didn't we have an inspection on the HVAC? How long ago did we have an inspection on the plumbing in the basement or the electrical box? Is our electric up to code? Are we meeting a code for if it's Section 8 or affordable housing? When's the next inspection? I mean, these are very important questions that you need to ask if you're going to be a successful real estate investor and a real estate professional. This is not new. You got to be honest every single day. Okay? If you want to make $20,000 a month in income, you need to be strategic in boosting your ROI all times. Again, thorough market research, looking at your tax incentives to take advantage of better cash flow, hiring help up and above your management company, people that are go-to people. And then obviously considering efficiency measures and smart technology measures to improve the security to that property. Because if that tenant knows there's video outside their home, they're going to be also concerned about anything they do as well, you would hope. Justin, good morning and welcome. Brief overview who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning, boosting your ROI with the right repairs.
Well, you were already nailing, kind of leaning a couple of things on my list. So I guess I'll start there with the construct of the build. When somebody's looking to buy something as an investor, I mean, I get the perspective of a tenant. The tenant wants to see it. Generally, a tenant wants to see a nice, clean space that's up to date now. They don't that kind of goes into the construct. Every place if I'm looking to buy an apartment, something like that, it may be a concern because certain updates that I might want to add, features that I might want to add, to my project management, property management process, affected by something like that, based on what the technology requires. A bunch of things coming. So things like plumbing, electrical, that function thing. I'm not worried, one another thing I think is important is overall, it's kind of touched on it, is the system, having systems in place. And mind you, once again, this is from the perspective of as an investor, not necessarily as a tenant. But yeah, if I'm looking at a property, I want to see that the previous owner had some systems in place that I could possibly improve. And also, you're tracking things on the property that also might be a good indicator of the information you're giving me can be traced to something. So that I'm going to be trying to underwrite on. So all of those things I think play into a factor. Looking at a good property to acquire or looking at a good property.
Thanks, Justin. I appreciate your insight. One thing I'm hearing from what Justin's talking about is, do you really understand setting competitive rental rates? So many times I have people call me and they say, well, listen, we know the future rent is going to be this, but the rent is currently this. I want to do a debt service coverage ratio loan based on the future rents. Well, the only way that I could do that is if you're going to enhance the renovations to the property, and I can look at the market rent, and you got to get a new lease signed. Well, I need to put $15,000 or $20,000 into the property. So then, why are you doing a DSCR loan? Why don't you do a fixed to rent loan? Do the enhancements, increase the rents, do a bridge loan, restabilize it, get a better value on the back end in appreciation along with the rents, and then refinance it. Why would you in any way want to chase the carrot, meaning your money that's out of pocket? It makes zero sense. And why would I use a future rent if I know now you need $20,000 to get to that rent? Have common sense as a real estate professional. I know it's tough. Common sense is really tough to think through. I get it. I'm with you. But you have to think this through. You have to understand what you're looking at when you're buying a property and it needs love, but you want the love value on the back end all at the same time. It doesn't work that way. If you know the property is under market on rent and know it's $20,000 away from that rent, why don't you just do a rehab loan to restabilize it and understand what the back end value? And if you still have some money stuck in the deal, now your cash flow is better, and you're going to make all that money back in a very specific way timeline. And you need to understand what that timeline looks like, and then you got to maintain that property condition, right? You got to minimize vacancy periods. You got to optimize operating expenses, and you got to enforce lease policies. Myself and the gentleman down below, I think he's still in the room, Joe Polidoro and I were at an event yesterday. That's why we couldn't be on a podcast. The young lady that did the presentation talked about her lease agreements and how she optimized and enforced the lease policies. And sometimes you have to consider professional management and property management, but you have to be part of the process. You just can't expect them to fragrance the room, the apartment, to make it smell nice when a realtor brings one of a prospective tenant through. I'd be making sure that there's your own maintenance group going in there up and above the property management company. I trust nobody but myself and my team. And I think people are so dependent about outsourcing, they forget about the hands-on personification to an investment property. Mr. Joseph Polidoro, good morning and welcome. Long time no see. Love to get your insight on the event we went to yesterday and thoughts to boosting your return on investment with the right repairs.
Thank you, Joe. Joseph Polidoro, wholesaler and realtor, South Jersey corridor market, everything south of Trenton, the state of New Jersey, down south. So yeah, the discussion we had yesterday, this woman had this presentation and she was spot on. She talked about a few highlights. First and foremost, getting an attorney to write a lease that is familiar with the market that you're in. don't go to, lawyer.com or one of these national type lawyer brokerages that, we specialize in New Jersey. You'll find somebody that is referred by other people, other investors, an attorney that, does real estate specifically or understands tenant laws in the specific state. And then they're either county specific, or if you only invest in a few towns, look for somebody that services those towns who really understands that community aspect. And is this a Section 8 rental market, or is this a retail only market like somebody else was mentioning in Las Vegas market? So that's a big staple. Another big thing she talked about was the lease itself and how, all her tenants, she runs her business, her rentals as a business. So all of her leases state, if you are late, you pay $150 late fee. She talks about how it was so high because, you should not ever want to get to that late fee. And then, she'll even take, the tenants to court and, try and get them to, some of these tenants think that they could get away with, not paying these late fees, but they owe $5,000 in late fees. So she, has that trusted attorney. She said she talks to him at least 3 to 4 times a week, get an update on all the properties, any other insight that he's learning. So she really leverages him as a resource to, understand the changes in the state of tenant law and lead-based paint. And, one of the markets she invests in, I know this because I also do business in that specific town, but they got a grant recently from the state for any houses that have lead-based paint. The town, you can utilize the grant to remediate it, and they have, painters that they recommend. So understanding your town and your area on a specific level, if that means going out to town hall meetings and making an introduction with the code enforcer or zoning, let them know who you are if you intend to be an investor in that specific town or that specific county long term. If your goal is to, just own a couple properties and you live a few states away, then, that some of those things might not be to you. But, it might be worth asking your management company, are you doing these things?
You hit it spot on, and we talk about this all the time. Find out what the local zoning department is pissed off about. Like, what do they dislike about the landlords in their market? And don't do them. If your rental market is strong, that means people are making money. There's a little hater mentality to a zoning officer knowing that. So you got to stay on top of your game, whether it's through your management company or yourself. Like Joe and I had a meeting this past week with one of my big investors, and we talked about like why isn't that team going to the zoning meetings in the towns where you have presence or ownership or trying to buy properties? Why hasn't one of you gone to a council meeting to see who are the key players in the room? There's not that many at a council meeting. If it's a small town, believe me, there's 20 people. It's the same 20 people that are there every month. You'll get to know them real quick because they love to talk about others and themselves. It's a very egotistical room, believe me. Egos are big, and you learn a lot about what's going on in your rental market. You want to be always concerned of vacancy. It's the biggest problem in making cash flow and return on investment. Why isn't your unit rented? Why? Don't keep blaming it on other people. You got to look at yourself every once in a while. If I walk in and it smells like shit, that's probably the reason, right? It's definitely a selling point, a non-selling point. So reality will settle in. If your place is empty for 3, 4, 5 months, you could only either fire everybody and reset the whole scenario, or figure out what is not going on, bringing your own third-party expertise to it. And Joe, I'd like to get some added thoughts to that as well.
Yeah, another thing I was thinking about, kind of as living in Jersey, you experience every season. So you have, super hot summers, and you have frigid winters. If you're showing your property and the grass looks a little bit overgrown because it's been sitting on the market for 2.5 weeks, and you notice that you have something pop up in an appointment that comes up on showing time or whatnot, and they go out there and they're trying to navigate through the grass, and it's up to their shins. That could be, you could have filled that vacancy, and now you've lost it. So same thing, in the winters, shoveling snow. Is that property management company able to get out there? That that following business day, or is it something to where you have somebody on the backup reserve where it's worth paying them $100 to go out there and shovel because you need to fill this vacancy?
Great stuff, Joe. I appreciate that. Ariane, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts for a discussion. Boosting your return on investment with the right repairs. Ariane, do you know how to unmute? She's new, so everybody give her a quick minute. Do you know how to unmute your button? Speak about that in the chat there, Ariane, if you can't figure it out. We'll come back to Ariane Rodriguez. Good morning, Stephen. Welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts for a discussion. Boosting your return on investment with the right repairs.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I'm Steve Franco. I'm a realtor and landlord up in Northeast PA. I also run ROI homepage and try to help people put stuff together. And basically, I mean, from the system standpoint, that to me is the most important in terms of proper screening and aiming your unit at your audience. Like Joe was saying, if you've got a more durable needing unit, you put the laminate product on the walls, things like that. But it's also very important in our market in Northeast PA, 15, 12, 14 years ago when I started, it was a pretty low expectation market. Like there were apartments that were legitimately rented and somehow passed city inspection, holes in the walls, yada, yada. Like this was, the low end tenants were not being treated right. Now their expectations, thank God, have gotten higher. Rents have gotten higher, so it makes it a little bit easier. But if you're aiming at a C grade rental or maybe a C minus grade rental, you still want that person to look around and say, wow, I feel like the landlord respected me. I walked through a purchase last week where the walls were all spray painted, it was graffiti, it was a mess. And the manager said, don't worry, I can get somebody to take this apartment. That's the wrong answer. You're going to get some human will move in, but they're not going to be the human you want. Even if it's a $500 a month single, one bedroom, whatever, paint it nice. Give it nice, cheap laminate floors. Make them feel like what I always say is what you would have accepted in college. Make them feel like they're looking around saying, for the money, this isn't so bad. If it's a better rent, better quality unit, okay, granite, tile, whatever that is for your market. But also make it durable. I tell my landlords, don't go in and put what you would put in for your home. Gee, I love Italian marble. Okay, if you're at a super high-end rental, different conversation. But if you're the average rental, you might have high-end marble in your home. That doesn't mean that high-end marble is going to make you any more than ceramic tile or be any more durable or get you any kind of a better tenant in a typical average property. That being said, you do the best you can for them. You also make sure all of your systems are right. You don't skimp and send in Randy, as I did far too many times in my career, to fix your furnace. You send in, Larry's Plumbing and HVAC Company. You send in a professional for those key roles, and you make sure those things are checked. We're actually starting a company up here where we're going to check. We're going to follow up on the management companies for many landlords because they don't have time to go in personally. They're not local. And their management company kind of gets complacent. So we want to have a third set of eyes. It's important that someone is checking your property, whether it's you or someone behind your manager, every periodical. That's every periodical time. And the last thing you want to make sure is that when you make an investment in your property, okay, not your systems will never make you money. A brand new furnace and a functioning furnace will make you the same rent. But when you make those upgrades, are they the upgrades that's going to make the tenant feel, wow, this is an extra special place for me? Are you going to do better with the $5 per square foot laminate flooring, again, C grade rental, B grade rental, than you will with the $2 square foot? Your tenant's going to move in and say, wow, nice vinyl laminate floor. what's going to increase it? Adding Wi-Fi might increase it. I love digital deadbolts because it increases the tenant happiness, but it also decreases my number of times of having to run out there, or my manager's number of times for a key replacement. I don't do lock boxes. I don't deal with locksmiths anymore. So I do those things that are going to make the tenant happier, make the code officer see a difference with us, because that's huge in our market. I went to a city council meeting a couple of days ago, and they all recognized me, and they said, "You're one of the best landlords in town." That wasn't why I was there, but that's what they said. And also reduce your and your manager's stress in the equation. So you're trying to accomplish all three things. If your furnace is 40 years old, look to maybe replace it, because it's going to fail Christmas Eve. So it's about improving tenant happiness, improving apartment durability, reducing your stress, and making your unit slightly above the rest of the market, and in my opinion, your rent slightly below. If you're trying to get every single dollar, you're going to have a smaller pool of tenants that are going to come to your door. If your rent's a little bit lower, you're going to have a wider pool of tenants, and you can pick the cream from that crop rather than the cream of the other C word. That's pretty much what I have, is really focusing on making your units strong for the tenant and strong for your operation.
Great stuff, Steve. I appreciate that. And, I think he hit it on point. He went to a council meeting. People know who he is. There's a reputation and branding there. He's going to be the first person they go to if there's a blighted property out there, and hey, Steve might want to buy this property and maybe make it nice like the other properties that he owns. Investing in real estate can feel like walking on a tightrope, right? But especially for landlords with small to medium portfolios. But the balancing act can be could be overwhelming between highs of potential passive income and the lows of unexpected expenses, market swings, and even tenant challenges, right? So you need to establish your why. It's very important to consider what type of real estate do you want to think that you want to either have a third party manage on your behalf and you be involved in understanding and maintaining that property. Finding the right type of investment property. Is it single families? Is it 2 through 4? Is it 5 through 10? Is it 10 through 25? Is it condos? Is it townhouses? Do you understand homeowner associations? Do you understand the insurance capabilities and liabilities to any one of these type of assets? Researching the location in the neighborhood, understanding the emerging neighborhoods, understanding crime rate, understanding local amenities. I went to a multifamily discussion in I feel in a very tough area of Philadelphia. If I walked out the door at 8:00 at night, where do I get a loaf of bread other than getting jacked up by somebody? So, to me, I was very concerned with safety issues in renting those apartments, right? So I don't care how many amenities you have inside, but I can't walk out the door at 8:00 without getting jacked up. So I got to be very concerned about location if I'm a small landlord, because if you don't feel comfortable walking there at nighttime, what about your tenant? So make a plan, right? A strategic plan with your management company and what your expectations are, and how to market to the right tenant. Making a financial plan on understanding cash flow and a better return on investment, maintenance, insurance, mortgage and property taxes, improvements, unexpected costs. Buy low, put money into it, create an after repair value, understand hidden costs, location traps, legal and hurdles, tenant landlord. There's not that many friendly areas to landlords. Understand that. Stay educated on landlord-tenant laws and understanding the risk factors of managing tenants. Building your network and connecting with other landlords. That creates a gold mine of contacts. They've walked this path and they often have a handy list of pros that they can recommend, and dive into online reviews and connecting with real estate agents and staying on top of your maintenance. If you keep skirting away from something, it's only going to manifest and get worse. It's not going to take care of itself. And diversify, maybe not just all single families, maybe 2 through 4, maybe a 5 unit or a 10 unit, and exploring money and time saving options, software, video, keypad entry. Reap the rewards of your real estate investment with the better you take care of your surroundings. It's just like taking care of your health. The better you take care of your health, better results on clarity, energy levels, relationships, conversations. It's all very relative. Joe, I'd love to get some quick follow-up from you and thoughts to our discussion this morning, boosting your ROI with the right repairs. Joe Polidoro, going once. There you go.
Yep. Yeah, I think Stephen talked an interesting point about, and if I was understanding it correctly, hiring some sort of third-party type service to kind of keep eyes on your management company. Stephen, is that kind of pinning on the head of what you were saying there? I don't know if he's allowed to unmute too.
Yep, I'm here. Yeah, exactly. We actually have a company that people can choose to hire at a small quarterly rate, like $20 a visit, whatever. You can go in and go through a checklist. And it's not about following up with a management company. It could be self-managed, but the idea is getting a set of eyes in there regularly with a punch list just to make sure things are staying where they should. Because the problem you run into is they can drift off very, very quickly if you've got a bad tenant, if your repair guys aren't doing the job. I had a management company that wasn't doing the job, and we didn't know it for a period of time. And that's why we did it.
Does it make sense at that point just to create a management company and hire it, pull the properties in that way?
Oh, we now have a management company. But the short version is we hired, bad time in our life, things were changing. We hired a management company to run our buildings, and found out after a while, figured out these experts know what they're doing. Found out after a while, these experts were just churning. They were churning the tenants. They were avoiding the maintenance. They were overcharging. So we started double checking, and then we started offering the service to other landlords, and discovered that people love the idea. They love the idea, whether they're self-managing or not, to have a tail come in afterwards. Mm-hmm. Not trying to do the work, just trying to say, here's the situation. Yeah, and it's worked out pretty well.
Okay, so maybe it's even something like they give you, and maybe just to help your business out a little bit, Stephen, is I think somebody mentioned earlier about having something written in the lease to where every 3 months you're going to check up on the property with
of course,
with the management company like you and them. So maybe that company that you have acts as an extension of you if you're an investor that say is 3 states away, or a W2 professional that you can't get out there unless it's the weekends, and the management companies don't work on the weekends. Maybe that's an angle that can be played.
Well, exactly, and actually, we have the 3-month thing in our lease, and we also have 24-hour notice. And for these follow-up people, we like more random. Yes, 24-hour notice, of course, whatever, because a lot of times what we catch, if I show up at the tenant's house at 8 in the morning and there's baked chicken on the stove, unless they're second or third shift workers, that wasn't breakfast. That means they're leaving road food out overnight. Mm-hmm. So, but it's very important that whatever you do, especially in a contract law state like Pennsylvania, whatever you do has to be in your lease. Some states are limiting about how often a landlord can do things. Some states are a little more random, but it's got to be in there. It's got to be in the agreement. And you do have to make sure that your agreement complies with state law. Don't take my Pennsylvania agreement, plain language, and then take it to a state that has different rules.
Yeah. No, that helps.
Go ahead.
No, I was actually talking.
So, guys, real quick, I want to round the wagons with you guys. So, I'm hearing job growth are factors. I'm hearing population growth is a factor, and affordability. So, Joe and Steve, final thoughts on affordability based on location, price to rent ratio, and fixer-uppers.
I think it understands that what you can afford, and you're talking about it a little bit. Are you buying it on a DSCR, or does it need some work to where the bridge loan makes sense, right? So if you're coming in on the wrong angle, or you're coming in over leveraged, and then you're trying to you shortcut some of these repairs, and then you think you can get ahead of it because you're trying to get to learn the work, but then when somebody goes out to list the property for a lease, and you know maybe the molding is falling off from the bottom, or it's angled incorrectly, or the light fixtures aren't all the same, and it's just sloppy. You can just tell, like, hey, this guy cheap down on it. Even though it might be affordable, that could bring another set of challenges. So understanding, am I buying this deal correctly? And if you're unsure about that, touch base with Joe. I know he's very open to sit down and go over some spreadsheets with you, worksheets, and does this deal make sense long term? And what are your goals as an investor?
Thank you, Joe. And I think this discussion really covered a lot of thoughts in return on investment. Because as a real estate investors, there's going to be challenges, right? Market volatility and economic factors, financing and cash flow management, tenant management and retention. You got to understand legal issues. You have to understand property maintenance and management. You have to understand your market competition, rising insurance costs, and finding reliable contractors and vendors are very important. So I want to thank everybody this morning. Another great discussion on understanding boosting your return on investment with the right repairs. I want to thank our sponsors. I would like to thank Mr. Yardell Perkins, my co-founder and co-partner on this podcast and Clubhouse Room. With your Perkatech, reach out to him to discuss social media strategy and architecture to your website and your optimization. I'd like to thank Ms. Linda Pelagas from Realty 411, providing insight and national publications and events throughout the country. I'd like to thank MB Capital, your unsecured business line of credit referral program. Anybody interested in discussing that, please reach out to me as well. I'd like to thank also Landmark Capital, providing asset-based lending, DSCR, fixed to rent, fixed to flip, new construction in the single family and multifamily space, as well as mixed use nationwide. And my quote this morning, I'd like to throw this out there. I always love to give a quote. Judge no one, just improve yourself. Everybody have a blessed Sunday morning. Please take care of yourself. We'll be back next Saturday morning, 8 a.m. and next Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. with another great subject matter to provide to you insight, network, strategy, and connection. And I'll be ending the room in the next 30 seconds. And thank you.
Thanks, Joe.